Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining today's webinar, which is AI Transforming the Contact Centre, with your hosts from Trust Business Partners, Dave Pitts, and me, Graham Bunting, and of course, Dr. Venky Krishnaswamy from Koopid AI. We're scheduled for about 30 minutes here today, and the intent is to provide a really brief introduction to Koopid AI, to share with you the story of how they've disrupted and are disrupting the contact centre market. We'll introduce Koopid's AI solution, what they do, who they do it for, and we'll share some use case examples of this rapid deployment, no-code, low-code solution. Clearly, we can't possibly cover everything in the time allocated, but we do hope to provide a taste of what we're delivering and anticipate being able to follow up with everyone and anyone interested in a deeper discussion sometime in the days following the session. So I'll be asking for your thoughts and inputs during the webinar, seeing as we've got such an esteemed and experienced list of the great and good attending today. Who knows? I don't think anybody will be desperately shy. So with that, what I'd like to do is warmly welcome and introduce your speaker today, 2 times Thomas Edison Award winner, Dr. Venky Krishnaswamy, who is CEO and founder of Koopid AI and ex-head of Avaya Labs. Venky, the floor's yours. Please introduce yourself and take the wheel.
Thank you, Graham, and welcome to all of you joining. It's a pleasure to have you here, and it's great to be here in San Francisco and addressing, meeting virtually people from all over the world, right? So this is there are good things to be said about this time, even though all of us are in the most unusual of times. So the topic today is the digital and AI transformation of customer experience. And I'm just going to set the stage with a few observations. So over the past few years in the contact center industry, digital and AI have been top trending topics. In almost any surveys I've seen over the last at least 3 years, enterprise and contact center leaders have been very interested in this topic of digital transformation. And so these are some statistics from about a year ago. So clearly top of mind, but things have just changed dramatically, right? And as you see the data from McKinsey, that literally in a matter of 8 weeks, plans have accelerated to the point that the estimate is that businesses have vaulted forward, in some cases, 5 years in their plans and roadmaps in terms of adoption of digital technologies. Why is that? That's because our call centers are being tested, right? So here's a typical message that businesses are putting up on their websites, essentially pleading with their customer base not to call unless it's absolutely necessary. And systems that have been in place for years and years and years are being absolutely tested, right? So specifically, businesses are really searching for what should they do if their phone lines are saturated. They've been on this plan for digital and automation. How is it working? Should they be doing anything different? And our initial observations, which is what led to this whole interest in digital and AI in the first place, is that the systems that are hardest to scale have to do with things where people are involved or where phone systems are involved, right? Many of you have probably been looking at work at home, expanding capacity for calls and so on, and those are hard things to do in a hurry. And systems that are more scalable, such as the web, mobile apps, and messaging, are probably where you should be looking at to scale in times of crisis like this, right? So that's kind of what's happening in the industry. And essentially, we are seeing in a matter of weeks, acceleration of these trends, and specifically in 4 areas, right? Move to the cloud. We're seeing contact centers moving workers home, taking calls from home, and moving their installs to the cloud in a matter of weeks. Now, of course, they're not doing this at the entire scale of the contact center, but they're getting it done. great interest in self-service. Websites are being upgraded, being refreshed, and so on. But also IVRs are being rethought. Conversational AI is very much a topic of interest. Digital channels, moving customers to be able to interact digitally and, more importantly, asynchronously seems to help. And of course, the interest in AI, how can you serve the customer at scale using automation, topic of intense interest. Right? So we're seeing acceleration of all of these trends. And specifically from the point of view of our company, Koopid, we are seeing interest in heightened interest in the solutions that we provide. So what do we do? We provide an overlay to a contact center where the customer can start on any channel, specifically favoring the digital channels. And as you can see, it's mobile, web, SMS, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, and so on. But we can also insert ourselves into IVR and deflect calls to digital channels. Right? The customer comes in, and our AI engine paints on their smartphone or their web surface or in their messaging channel an experience that is responsive and personalized for that particular user. So we use AI to drive not only the conversational aspect of the interaction, but also the UI aspect of the interaction to drive an experience or to drive choices for the customer that are appropriate to what they're there to do. And of course, with any self-service, if you don't provide a path for the customer to talk to somebody, if the self-service is not doing the job, then it's likely that they're going to get frustrated with the experience and try to zero out and talk to somebody anyway, right? So we provide that seamless, elegant overflow from automation to an agent. So, and as we do this, we can drop this as a cloud overlay on top of your existing contact center. So you don't have to swap out your infrastructure. You don't have to change how your agents work. You simply add this, and you add it by simply turning on a Koopid account in the cloud. Everything is automated. You can be up and running in less than a day in a system like this. Right? So in our own customer base, we've seen that same degree of acceleration taking place in terms of adoption, and more than adoption in terms of scale. And so I'll just tell you a few stories from the field of what some of our customers are doing in the banking realm, in the telco realm, or in the government realm. And some of the themes that are emerging from this period are the ability to deflect calls to digital or to automation, to be able to scale things rapidly. On the one hand, the call center is under stress because of work at home and agents, fewer agents being available. On the other hand, because of the situation, more calls or more customer inquiries, and therefore call centers have to actually build to a higher scale than they've been accustomed to, right? While at the same time also being able to maintain service levels, even though the capacity to serve with agents is reduced, and also to be able to take the infrastructure they have and add to it. Right? There's probably not enough time to do a complete overhaul of existing infrastructure. So anything that can incrementally or quickly augment existing infrastructure is being favored. So we're seeing some of these themes. And so on to a few customer stories. Now, this is a large bank, and they've been on a path to digitize their customer experiences. In particular, very, very interested in chatbots. They have been experimenting with a number of chatbots, and unfortunately, they had not succeeded until about last October, right? And so somewhat disillusioned with their chatbots. opened the floor to us to ask us to show them what we could do. So we defined a proof of concept in about October. It expanded rapidly. And so they've now gone live about 6 or 7 months later with 120 use cases that are live, and they're happy. And essentially what made this work was a platform that had all the properties that I outlined, right? It adds rather than replaces a contact center. It integrates. It is an experience that is accurate, and it's accurate because it's takes advantage of UI as well as the conversational AI piece. And it is an enterprise-wide platform in the sense that it's not a design once and make it run kind of chatbot. It's a platform that lets you build incrementally, tweak, observe, monitor, and optimize. Right? So it's a case of starting small and gradually increasing scale till you get to the point that where you want, and all the while monitoring and observing the results and the experience and making adjustments along the way. That's what made it work. And so this particular customer is live with a large number of use cases in the banking sector. A sort of similar but an equally interesting adjacent story in the telco domain. Now, this particular customer did not want to start with automation. What they wanted to do was, it's a classic case of reduced agent capacity, need to maintain service, or maybe even increase levels of service because of increased demand. So they chose to adopt a digital channel. And in the region, the digital channel that's most popular and growing really rapidly is WhatsApp, right? So the request was, can you connect a WhatsApp channel? Can we advertise a WhatsApp interface to our customers? And can it connect it back to our contact center? So now that implementation also went live very rapidly. Very quickly after introduction, we started seeing significant amount of traffic moving to this channel, and it is in fact smoothing out the call volume spikes. So we are seeing that calls, customer interactions that would otherwise have come to a phone call are now coming into this channel. And because it's asynchronous and it puts less stress on the agent in terms of attention to individual customers, they can multiplex 3 or 4 customers at a time. It's actually expanded the capacity of the call center to serve the customer. A third use case, possibly the most interesting of the lot. This was a request that came to us from a state government in India. It was a COVID-related situation. A bunch of workers from out of state, trapped in the state, having to go back home at a time when the state was imposing a lockdown and curfews, right? So how do they regulate the movement of these out-of-state people so that they can return home and issue them passes with a digital process that can be authorized properly, that can be vetted properly, and that can be inspected when a citizen presents the pass, when they're outside. Right? That was the problem. Problem was described to us on Friday. We made it work by the following Tuesday. The system went live shortly thereafter, and within the first 4 days, it processed about 43,000 passes, solved the problem. Workers were able to move out of state, and we were able to pull the system down after that. Right. So the very short duration, very intense effort could not have been done with a contact center solution, but a digital automation solution that could attach itself to SMS and mobile worked, solved the problem, and a happy customer as a result. So there are a number of cases like this, and I'm happy to talk to you about that at a future time. But what we've learned from doing these projects for our customers is that digital transformation, which is always of interest, is of heightened interest now. And as you approach it, especially as you're looking at customer experience or customer interface type of efforts, there are a few things to keep in mind that are great determinants in how successful this can be and how quickly you can do this, right? So number one, be aware that your customers are likely to be coming from a smartphone or a web interface first, right? They're going to Google, they're going to search in their social networks for solutions to the problem that they're experiencing. So they're going to be there on that smartphone, and that's where you want to engage them. And in particular, because that interface is highly capable, it's not just a words in, words out, or a text in, text out interface. The more you can leverage the UI capabilities of that device, the better the experience that you'll deliver to your customers. Second, make sure that the experience that you're offering to your customer is contextual. Nothing is worse for the end customer than trying to solve the problem on a surface. It doesn't work, and then they have to get back on a phone call, wait a long time, and then when they get to an agent, for them to have to explain to the agent what they did on this other channel, which the agent probably doesn't have access to and cannot properly visualize, right? So that you're going to get a customer whose problem wasn't solved and a call that is longer than otherwise it otherwise would have been. So you have to connect these channels and pass context from one to another, and hand off seamlessly to agents with the context, so that both the customer's journey is seamless and purposeful, as well as the agent's experience is what they need it to be. Right? As you look at AI and automation, there's a temptation with AI to think of this as a all-powerful, really complex technology. And so we've seen a tendency for AI projects to be really large, very experimental, and very uncertain in their outcome. There is a different way to approach AI projects, right? And that is identify low-hanging use cases very, very quickly and get them live. You'll learn a lot, you'll deliver value quickly, and most importantly, you'll develop the competence in-house to do this, to tackle more complex situations and make them successful. So progress from simple to complex in small steps, and testing out value propositions and return on investment along the way. Right? So, and the corollary to that is that in order to be able to do that, you have to be able to instrument your interface, measure what's happening, have a practice of iterating and improving that interface or the self-service implementation. Don't just build it, put it out there, and just and not monitor it, because then you're not going to be able to learn the experience that your customer is getting, and more importantly, how to optimize it so that you maximize the return on investment for your enterprise. So I'll conclude with Koopid can help. Our platform provides these connected experiences across web, mobile, telephony. They are contextual. So we make sure that a customer who starts on a self-service journey and has to go talk to an agent after that is not left hanging. What they've done is transfer to the agent so that the agent is informed. The conversations themselves are highly secure. We encrypt the channel end to end, and they are persistent in the sense that if you start on one channel and continue it later on another channel, or even on the same channel, it is really a continuing conversation, not something that is kind of transactional. And most importantly, our platform lets you get started with simple use cases first, very quickly, measure, and progressively automate more and more as you learn from the interactions, as you assess the opportunities and as you assess the customer experience that these automation journeys deliver, you can progressively automate and increase the level of self-service in your system, while always maintaining the level of service that you're providing to your customers. And finally, what's made this work in the timescales that we're talking about is, don't think about ripping and replacing everything. Leverage as much as of what you have as possible, because there's a lot of things that are working in your contact center. Being able to add net new, especially from the cloud, very quickly is key to getting going quickly, number one, and to maximizing the value from new investments that you make in your contact center. So that's I did this quickly. I apologize if I went too fast, but I hope this has been very useful. I will stop sharing, and I will take some questions at the moment. And if you don't mind, I'm going to run a poll, and I would love to get your feedback on a couple of polls. I'm going to run my first poll now. I'll run another poll in a few minutes. And meanwhile, if you have questions, I'm very happy to take them at the moment.
Yeah, there's a Q&A panel, so if anybody's got any pressing questions that they want to ask, or would like to go into more detail at a later stage, just let us know. So Venky, whilst people are taking a look at the poll, could you just spend a couple of moments talking about the voice integration piece? Because I guess what you've described here is very much about that digital transformation powered by AI, but an awful lot of call and contact centers are still very much rooted in voice technologies. So in terms of the integration, what are you seeing, and what sorts of things are critical to success in those those integrations?
Yeah, so voice remains and will be for a long time one of the most critical channels in a contact center. At the end of the day, for complex problems, for customers to be able to explain and negotiate their way through complex situations, there's nothing better than a face-to-face or a sort of a voice conversation with an agent who's informed and empathetic, right? So that's never going to go away. But having said that, the truth about most call centers is that many questions that come over calls are repetitive, easy to answer, or the information already exists on some of the properties, such as a website, right? So the replies to those can and should be automated. The fact of the matter is that when the customer is coming in, it's only the customer that knows the complexity of their question, as well as what they want out of the conversation, right? So the automation may be able to satisfy them. If not, you need to get them over to an agent. And if that agent is going to be on voice, even if the customer starts on digital channel, you have to be able to connect on voice. So those are the principles. And we've instrumented our platform, architected our platform to be able to escalate from that digital channel to a voice call that gets routed by a contact center infrastructure, as it always has. But we can carry that intent forward, which in order to be able to affect the routing of the call. We can also insert into an IVR to do exactly the same thing.
It's quite interesting, Venky. The question, one of the questions that's just come in is kind of on that vein. It says, do you have a list of supported telephony platforms? Can you integrate with cloud-based platforms such as Genesys or 8x8? Very on message.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, so we have integrated with a number of telephony platforms in the industry. The sort of major existing vendors such as Avaya, Genesys, Cisco. We have integrations available for those platforms. We've just recently announced a strategic partnership with a cloud contact center vendor, and we're expanding the list of partnerships. our platform is designed to be able to attach itself to an API very, very quickly. So many modern platforms have those APIs. We also have integrations with telephony technologies such as SIP, which means that any platform that supports a SIP trunking interface or a WebRTC interface, we can integrate with very, very quickly.
Great, thanks, Venky. And we've another question. I think we've probably got time for one more. Did you want to stick your other poll question up, and then I'll ask you this this second question. Yeah. So tell me when you're ready, and I'll read it out for you.
Okay, so I'm going to launch my second poll, and
excellent. Yeah, I can see that. So here's another question, Venky. So I'll summarize this a little bit. Recently developed a bespoke asterisk-based comms platform for a bank in Europe, have a number of small informal call centers. Do you think we could add value by overlaying your system?
Absolutely. We do have customers who are on asterisk. We have integrated with asterisk both for routing of calls as well as integrated into an asterisk controlled IVR. We do have customers who are whose calls are being answered by Koopid and then deflected to digital or passed on back into the asterisk call center, and all of this from the cloud. So absolutely, we can do this.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's bang on the half hour. So I guess just to close off, thanks everybody for attending. We have recorded this, so if anybody wants a version of the recording to go and listen to again if they've missed anything, please do just drop us a note. Thank you very much for your questions. Venky, thank you very much for the presentation. I think that's very enlightening for us all. Venky's just shared the results with you, so if you can see that. So yeah, if anybody is interested in a particular area of follow-up, please do drop us a note. I think you've got all the details both on LinkedIn and via Eventbrite. So, and any feedback is always very welcome. So thanks everybody for attending. Really appreciate you giving up half an hour of your time today. And Venky, thank you very much for the presentation. Have a great rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for attending.
Thanks, Venky.
Bye-bye.